Here we go. There we go. So welcome again to everyone for the MNBC virtual town hall for Region 7. Tonight, there are two candidates that we understand are running in Region 7. And I would like to say that we will have one attending this evening, our candidate Paulette Flamond up in the, well, it's my left-hand corner. I should not be too specific. And we also have Jolene reached out to us. I don't want to say her last name incorrectly, but it is Jolene R. Van Wyringen. I think I'm probably butchering that, but she had a prior commitment tonight. She sent us a note and apologized for not being able to be here. She has sent her deepest regrets and her apologies, and we will be putting her phone number and her email address in the contacts. Because she said if anyone would like to reach out to her or talk to her more about her platform, she'd be happy to do that. The orders of the speakers this evening will be Paulette, you get to go first. There will be no drawing of straws. I would like to say also, again, a reminder, audience members, you are encouraged to put and ask your questions through the Zoom chat, and please do so respectfully. We would like to say keep things concise and focused on issues that are relevant to the election and to the community. Also, thinking about the code of conduct, I'd just like to remind you, let's lead from a place of love and kindness. We are here to do good work, and we would like to focus on respect and professionalism and treat each other with honor, respect, and gratitude. So with not too much further ado, I would like to hand this over to Paulette. So please, Paulette, would you like to open with your opening statement?
Okay, there we go. So thank you very much for all joining. I believe it's still the afternoon. I'd just like to acknowledge that I am on the territory of the Dunaza people. I am coming to you from Charlie Lake, BC, as well as I'd like to acknowledge the traditional homeland of the Kelly Lake Métis people. So I just welcome everybody here with us this evening. A little bit about myself. I was born in historic Fort Balliford, Saskatchewan, and I lived as a road allowance child for the first about 6 years of my life with 5 other siblings. My family names come from the Red River, and I am Métis on both sides of my family. The family names are Flamond, LaRose, Pritchard, Bosquet, and Boyer. Oh, I have to shut the door for my dog is barking. 1 second. So sorry about that. I have a 6-month-old poodle and he likes to come inside the house and bark at everything. Okay, so where was I? So my upbringing was very modest as I lived in a 2-room shack without running water or electricity. We survived with the help of our Métis family members. Growing up with nothing, really motivated me to work hard and to pursue opportunities. These pursuits were not always easy, but I struggled along the way to reach my goals. Some of my previous work experience includes being a program director for the Saskatoon Friendship Center. I also worked with the John Howard Society in Edmonton, helping prisoners integrate back into society. For 10 years, I manufactured products overseas, opening 2 retail stores in Alberta. I then joined designer Gary Oker, selling Indigenous products across North America. I was introduced to business at a very young age, and today I still continue to own a clothing retail store and a permaculture farm in Charlie Lake, which I'm very, very passionate about. I spent 18 years as the executive director for the Northeast Aboriginal Business Center. It was one of 3 business centers located in the province of BC. I helped to build community and individual economic development through coaching, training, and accessing resources. I made many contacts in business, industry, and government while I was there. In fact, just a couple of days, John Rustad, who is running in the Conservative Party, actually sent me a personal message to me because I was working with him on a project when I worked at the business center. So yeah, I also was instrumental in opening 2 social enterprises through the business center, the Indigenous Artist Market and the Indigenous Food Collective. On April 26th at the Supreme Court of Canada, my life changed forever. I was the 3rd person to receive the writ in the Daniels decision. And it was that day on the Supreme Court steps that I decided to become a political leader for my people. I have not looked back, but only forward. Section 35 rights are on my mind daily. And I know that with our IGB status, things will change and we will be able to bring our children home. In 2019, I was awarded one of the highest honors in BC for leadership, innovation. It was awarded for my entrepreneurial efforts in BC and for elevating Indigenous business across the province. My experience in business makes me the right choice for leadership. My 35 years on boards, both provincially and nationally, also help. In fact, I am on a Crown Corporation, ICBC, and I, along with other board members, manage $275 billion. So with that experience, both in Crown Corp business, managing a huge budget like that, working with MNBC for the past 4 years and, managing our budgets there as well, and for my entrepreneurial pursuits, I believe that I am the right person to continue the work here in Northeastern BC. Thank you.
I have to remember to unmute myself. Thank you, Paulette. I noticed that the music came on halfway through the timer, so that surprised me a little bit there. So when you hear that, I guess that means we're at the end. Okay, I just wanted to take a moment here before, let's get out of there. Sounds like the Oscars. I feel like there's going to be a cane that comes out. Just to share again, a reminder that September 7th will be Election Day. It will be closing at 8 p.m. and voting for the MNBC election will be by mail-in ballot or digitally, i.e. voting electronically. The digital voting will be opening on August 24th and it will be closing on September 7th. If you have questions or you want updates, please do visit onefeather.ca online, or you may also go to the MNBC website for more information. They do a great job updating and keeping things posted there in terms of as they change. I will say that because it's we have one candidate tonight, we've gone through our introductions. So this is your opportunity now, Paulette, to speak for about 5 minutes and convey your platform statement, if you will.
Wow. Okay. So my platform has 6 different pillars. So maybe I could speak on half of them and then do the other half after with questions, because it may take a little bit of time. But anyway, however we want to do it. So the first one is to promote Métis rights and recognition and achieve jurisdiction over our children. So what we are working diligently on our board is for IGBC status federally. It's really paramount to our rights and recognition. We also, know that we have non-site specific rights that are, health, culture, education, economic development. These are all not land-based. In the Northeast area, we were given $3.3 million to do rights-based research here in Kelly Lake. And I'm happy to say that one of my first accomplishments after getting elected last term was to establish a chartered community in Kelly Lake. The second pillar is to promote cultural revitalization and cultural wellness. So we basically just need to continue on the path to support events across BC and to market Point Ellis House. which is a collaboration of Indigenous history in BC. We sponsor the Rendezvous and other events across British Columbia, and also to work at continuing to find the funding for the Amelia Douglas Institute. And most importantly, for me, is to work on our Métis specific university that we are working on. We're in our second year of working on that. So that's a really, really great place that will be able to promote our cultural revitalization and cultural wellness. My third pillar is to pursue socioeconomic reconciliation. And we really need to help our Métis businesses balance the playing field and make space for our Métis-owned businesses' way of life where their values and practices are respected. We actually have just started a Ministry of Economic Development. And we are actually, since I've been on board, we've started signing up more joint ventures. So these joint ventures, will support our Métis entrepreneurs. It'll actually provide money coming in to MNBC. We're also working on a MNBC directory of all businesses listed in the province. It's taking some time to do it. I've been involved in a business directory in one of my past careers, and I know the amount of time that it takes, but we are going to market it effectively, and we are going to get more Métis businesses emerge. And this really, goes in part with establishing relationships. Number 4 is to support Métis chartered communities. And wow, do I have a lot to say about this one. The Fort St. John Hub is really my most proudest work that I've done in Fort St. John. It is the envy of every other region, and our cultural hub, including our 40 apartment unit building, provides a safe and a cultural place for our citizens to live. I interviewed 2 of our citizens that are in there, one youth, one elder. And when Walter Minot, our Minister of Health, our Minister of Housing, when we sat down with them, I know he won't admit it, but I had tears in my eyes. And it was just a beautiful story of them saying that they came from places that weren't safe, and now they were living in a safe and secure environment. So we're really, really proud of that. When we purchased the property, we also had a home on the property. This is going to become the Fort St. John Community Charter Forever Home. And it's right across the street from the STEPS office. So we use the STEPS for our skills training, employment, and post-secondary. They've renovated the garage in there. They just laid the flooring a few weeks ago, where now they can do training in that room. And then next door, we are going to have a state-of-the-art daycare. And we're doing the groundbreaking for this next month. And with this, doing the daycare, doing the land in Hudson Hope, doing the crosstown, doing the STEPS office, there's been approximately $21 million put into this area in infrastructure in the past 4 years. And this has never been done before. And, when I got on board, I really pushed for the Northeast, and my colleagues, and if they're here tonight listening, they need to be applauded. And they will all tell you as well how much I pushed for this community hub. And this community hub is a economic investment, and it's something that we can be all proud of. Like I said earlier, it's the envy of all communities. So we had a choice either to get her done or to wait for another 5 or 6 years, because there's been land purchased across BC, but those projects are not going to be getting up and running for approximately 6 years. And we got it done in the last couple of years. So yeah, I'm just so proud of it. And I know that Fort St. John Community Society is also very, very proud of it. Number 5 is generate core capacity, infrastructure, and economic development. We do have a new economic development ministry with Louis DeJagger. Joint ventures, we're signing up more and more joint ventures, as well as I sit on the Métis Financial Corp, and we did our first time homeowners program, and it was fully subscribed. And now we were doing our second one. So probably by the next 6 months, we will have 70 Métis families. That's 70 Métis families in homes, as well as, some of the infrastructure. I'd like to say that I really pushed the 2 ministries that we now newly have at Métis Nation of BC. And everybody supported me, but the one ministry that I really wanted was the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, because those are very passionate, personal things to me, as well as a newly appointed Minister of Tourism, because I said, we're sitting back and there's a lot of resources that can be made in those 2 sectors. So that's what happened there. And the last one is basically, developing and restoring respectful relationships and partnerships. And I really wanted to pin this out, is that first, this has to start at our community charter levels, because there's far too much lateral violence going on. We need to tread carefully with First Nations. We are fortunate to be in the North, where Walter and I have good relationships with our First Nations communities. I happen to be married to a former First Nations chief. So, you know what? I think that we have a really good, solid foundation in the Northeast. And I'd really like to commend the Fort St. John Steps office, because I go to a lot of First Nations events. And now I've started to see our Steps office staff coming out to these First Nations events. And I really think that's where it starts. It starts at our staff level. So I really believe, I want to end it with this quote: when we stand together, we all stand stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. I will just quickly share our agenda for the group so we can see where we're at. Here we go. I'm sharing my screen. And let's close out the timer there. So we are coming now into our question and answer session. So we've been receiving some questions in the chat, and my colleague Delaney has prepared those for me. She's sending them along here and compiled them. I will ask the question to Paulette and open the floor to her to speak about it. These will not be specifically timed. We'll go through as many as we can. And then as we get closer to the end of the evening, I'll make sure to have a pause, and we will step in and allow Paulette to make her closing remarks. So let's just pop this down. There we go. Look in here. All right. So, Paulette, our first question that we have from the chat is a little bit of a long one. It says, I understand that there have been several accusations from the other candidates from Region 7 regarding the hub in Fort St. John. Could you provide details on how the decision to purchase the property in Fort St. John was made? And additionally, I'll give you the whole thing. And then if you're like, I need more help with it. Additionally, could you share any information about upcoming investments planned for other communities? And then this is a 3-parter. So I'll let you do and then the third part is, lastly, why is it important to keep real estate bids confidential to ensure that competitors do not gain an upper hand? So essentially the question is, could you provide details on how the decision to purchase the property in Fort St. John was made? Could you share information about upcoming investments planned for other communities? And then the issue of real estate bids being confidential to ensure that competitors do not gain an upper hand. So there's quite a lot in there. But
excellent questions.
Yes.
Excellent questions.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. So the hub in Fort St. John. So we had 2 community consultations. We had one at the Pomeroy Hotel, and then we had one at the Northern Grand Ramada Hotel. And this was basically to collect information about what was needed. And we heard a lot about seniors housing. So that was a lot. And of course, also on, single family homes as well. So we took that information back to the board of directors, and we looked at, a property that was available, that was built specifically for senior citizens, as well as it can house single family families, right? I think the bedrooms are the highest they go in there are 2 bedrooms. So we looked at that, and we looked at, maybe adjusting some of them to provide, some 3-bedroom suites as well. So we purchased that property based on that. And I know now that we have, 3 or 4 elders living in there. We also have some Métis youth living in there as well. So that's basically, we went to the community, and then we also, worked with the chartered community, Fort St. John. I have a very good working relationship with Alana and her board. And so they were brought along as well. For the number 2, the upcoming investment, some people here on the call may have heard, we have purchased property in Hudson Hope. And I'm working very closely with Val Pace in that area as well. And we're looking at a couple of things. I can't mention the second thing, but I can mention that we are looking at some housing there. We're also looking at a place where this community will be able to grow food. I mean, as you know, with the Site C Dam going in, Hudson Hope has some of the best areas for growing food. I mean, if I could live anywhere, that would be Hudson Hope, because I could grow an enormous amount of food. So we definitely want to do something with that chartered community to be able to help them to provide food for their citizens. About the real estate transactions, really confidentiality is important for land purchases to ensure prices and are not inflated by driving up the competition. They're also held in confidence during negotiations, and we do our best to protect MNBC staff and partners well in the process as well. The board policy manual states that we go in camera for all land purchases, and we've done that for Crosstown, for the steps office, as well as the daycare lot and the daycare development. So all of these have to be done in confidence. So I hope I answered that question. Whoever asked me that 3-part question, I hope you got your answers.
Thank you, Paulette. Okay. So our next question is, with your business experience, what would you do to help help communities with economic development?
Well, I've been talking to my board for this for some time, and being the Minister of Skills, Training, Employment, and Post-Secondary, I've also mentioned it to them as well. Things have been on hold right now, but I plan when I get reelected that I am going to be pushing this. I believe that all of our chartered communities across British Columbia need to get business training. We need to help them to understand. We need to help and encourage them to start businesses. First Nations do community economic development training. I want to have a Métis specific economic development training that all chartered communities across BC can actually take the training. With that, we need to team up with the Métis Financial Corp. We now do have grant writers at MNBC. That's something that our board has pushed and pushed. We finally have some grant writers. We need to be helping these communities build self-sufficiency. I work with Fort St. John Métis Society. Some of you know that they have a food truck, and I see them out and about, and wherever they are, I'll go and try to support them. I'm also pursuing an opportunity with them on a couple of other ventures that I can't talk about, but I am always saying to them, you need to bring in your own source revenue. And I don't want to put them on the spot, and I don't know if they're on this call, but you know what? They have a healthy bank account. And they do it because they're entrepreneurial thinking, because we need to lessen self-dependency on MNBC. Because I'm afraid, and I'll put it out here on this call, I don't mind, but we may be getting a new federal government. And if we do, things are going to change really fast for us. It's important that we help communities to build their infrastructure, to bringing in their own source revenue. Yes, there's a lot of grants out there, but we also need, because we're in this region, in the Northeast region, there is no reason why we are not going after industry. When I worked at the Northeast Aboriginal Business Center for 18 years, a lot of our funding, mind you, it was project-based funding, but a lot of that came from industry. And I really believe that we need to do a better job to be going out there and working with our industry partners and letting them know about our chartered communities and bringing them together. So that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you, Paulette. Moving on to our next question. It is question number 3, and it's broken into a few parts, but the main theme is centered around this. The guest asks, I am curious about your vision for supporting elders, young families, and other vulnerable relatives living in the North. Specifically, what is your vision for food security, equity in post-secondary and skills training, and K-12 education, etc.? Would you like me to read that one again?
I think I got most of it. The post-secondary and K-12, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. My vision for the elders. Wow. Whew. Wow. Well, I think that our elders in our area are some of the most vulnerable. When I first started with MNBC, I was the Minister of Health, and I had so many calls from our elders that could not get their medical travel, their prescriptions, their dentures, their hearing aids, you name it. And I promise, and I'm committing, and I am going to work towards getting us an elders healthcare program. 65 plus, if that's where we need to start. I often bring this up, and my colleagues will know that I've said this many, many, many times, and I'm always being told that we don't have the resources. Well, I'm not taking that for an answer any longer. We are going to get the resources that we need to be able to start helping our elders. I was just at a First Nations event last weekend, and I had a Métis elder who I really respect come up to me, and he said, Paulette, I've worked all my life. I don't have a whole lot of money, and I need to have my house fixed. It's falling apart. And we have a Maniki project for elders, but it has an income threshold. I think this is not right. And I would like for us to go back to that and work on that, so that we're able to even help our elders more. Food security, I am encouraging communities. I mean, I know that we have a nice big lot across from, our Métis Steps office, that we could basically be building a big food garden. The Fort St. John Métis Society, we've already been talking about more food boxes in there, so that can grow more food. I'm even willing, I can't keep up with my own food production on my property. I mean, one day, hopefully we could, start up something here. I've just completed doing a medicine garden that I want to take out to the communities to teach other people how to do the medicines that are here. For our young families, we need to continue to support them and to support them even in more ways. So there needs to be more programming. Post-secondary, we've already doubled the money for post-secondary. I mean, I'm so proud of the fact that, when I became minister, that we've doubled that. So I think the post-secondary, we always need more money. More and more of our Métis people now want to go get their master's degrees, their PhD degrees. We need to continue. We have 50K for them now. Maybe one day we raise it up to 75. I would, but I think right now we need to work with what we're working with there, because there's so many other things to be working on. Post-secondary, K to 12, what can I say? That's just a disgrace. And I know that our Minister Fisher, with her ministries, are working hard. And we continue at our board of directors. She reminds us, and other people now remind us as well, is that when we meet in person, we put that child in the middle. So everything that we do as a nation, that child is in the center. So there's lots to work on, but I really believe that our elders right now are very vulnerable. I mean, same with the homelessness, but the elders, they are the ones that are the knowledge keepers. They're the ones that have fought the fight for us. And so, they're 65 years old. Let's take care of these elders, because we don't have many, and we need to honor them. And that could be one way of honoring our elders, is by taking care of the medical needs of our elders.
Thank you, Paulette. Question 4. It's in regard to Dawson Creek. How would you be able to help in Dawson Creek? From what has been seen, all funding has gone to Fort St. John.
Well, I think it's really important that Dawson Creek reaches out. I would like to hear from their president, Brenda. Dawson Creek as well, too, when they are having their AGMs. Every other community in the area has invited Walter and myself to the AGM. We weren't given an invite even to come to their AGM. So I would love to help Dawson Creek. I mean, I know that we're working on a kitchen renovation with them, but I see that there needs to be projects for Dawson Creek as well. So I would like to have an invite to come to a community meeting and find out what their needs are, because I would love to help Dawson Creek. And it's all my communities are very important to me, but there's a new rule. I don't know where it came from at MNBC, but we cannot go into the communities unless we're invited. So I really need to have that invitation, but I'm definitely would love to sit down with them. I'd love to be able to have a conversation with Brenda and be able to find out what they want. I do not know at all what they want.
Okay, thank you, Paulette. Just to let everyone know that we're at about 5:35, so we've gone through the first third of the meeting. We have about 22 people who are in attendance, and we will now move on to our 5th question for Paulette. Do you belong to any other Métis organizations?
No, I don't.
Okay, that was easy. All right, number 6. It is a little bit longer, so get ready. I sit on the board with Northeast Métis Association and applied for my MNBC citizenship in January and recently received a reply. I have asked for support in finding required ancestry information, and they were very unhelpful, and I was told to provide a death certificate, which I did, but this is now insufficient. Why isn't there assistance in navigating the ins and outs of becoming a citizen? I have all the information at my fingertips, but have not received support from MNBC to successfully complete my application.
Well, I'm sorry to hear, because I get those questions called into me. And what I say is that, our registry just went, did an overview, a rehaul. And I know, from my meetings that I attend in Surrey every 3 months, that they're really, behind. I know that they're trying right now, from the last meeting, process 1,000 applications per month over the next 4 months. So they're very behind the board. Support, it is my understanding that when they call the registry, that the registry is able to assist them. As far as the death certificate, I believe, like with my parents, when they died, I had to make the request for the death certificate. So I don't really know how to answer that one. But I just know that we, have increased our staff and that we have one of the best registries in all of Canada. So I would just encourage them to keep on emailing, to keep on calling. I know it gets frustrating, but you know what? And if you can't get through to them that way, I would really appreciate you reaching out to me. My email is very easy. It's pflamond@mnbc.ca. I can navigate for you. They can't give me any information, but I've been helpful to other people that are going through the same thing. So just reach out to me and I will see what I can do for you because, we really want to bring our MNBC citizens home. It's important for us that we, increase our registry, not for anything, but the fact that we're bringing our people home, just like we need to bring our children home. We need to bring our citizens home in BC. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. Okay, question 7, a little bit detailed. Besides the STEPS program, what other infrastructure was in place for Region 7 before you became director? Secondly, with the upcoming daycare center and office space for community, as well as the purchase of crosstown apartments, do you believe this is good for the future of the Northeast?
Well, before I got elected, there wasn't a STEPS office. We purchased the Passive House, which renamed the Métis House. The STEPS office was in a very raggedy building on Main Street. So that all came under my leadership. The upcoming daycare, what was the question on the daycare? Sorry, just about talking about it or?
Nope, that's no problem. With the upcoming daycare center and office space for community, as well as the purchase of the crosstown apartments, do you believe this is good for the future of the Northeast?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think it's the best thing. We now have our own Métis hub. We are the envy of every other community across British Columbia. This hub, which is all very, close together. Like I said, our community charter is right next door to the apartment building. The STEPS office is next door to the upcoming daycare. It's all in that vicinity. This is a good investment for the Northeast. This is a place where our people can feel a sense of pride. I mean, even when I drive down that street, myself as a Métis person, or walk down that street or go to one of those places, I am just so filled with pride. I mean, I saw where the Fort St. John Métis Society lived. They were in the seniors building. I mean, I can't wait, for their open house. I can't wait to be able to go and see it furnished. I am so excited. I think that this is the best investment. And I think that we are a shining star. I also say to my colleagues, if your citizens want to know how it's done, tell them to come talk to me. But jokingly, of course. But the thing is that I am so proud of the fact that we have that. And why not in the Northeast? This is the traditional home of the Métis people. And why not in the Northeast when we had nothing, 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 nothing? And so, I know our former leaders, Dan Pope, and I know that Walter Minot, they've said publicly, we had none of this, Paulette, until you came along. And I'm going to continue to build the Northeast. I mean, I have plans and I have plans for, I feel not so great about this, but you know what? I really wanted to have a chartered community back in Fort Nelson. And once I get reelected, my focus is going to be on Dawson Creek, Chetwynd. We just got Chetwynd going. Walter and I went there for an AGM. It was in hiatus for close to a couple of years since Darlene Campbell left. It's going now. And we want to find out what Chetwynd wants to do as well, right? And, maybe they might partner up with Hudson Hope because they're so close together. But we want to find out from Leanne and her team what they want for Chetwynd. But I really want to go to Fort Nelson and establish a chartered office. There was one in there. Walter Minot got one going many, many years ago when he was Region 7 director for a few terms, but then it no longer there. And I really think it's important for us to get up there and do that. So yes, absolutely good for the future, good for the Northeast. And I no longer have to go to our board meetings. I had to do it for the first 3 years. What about the Northeast? What about the Northeast? What about the Northeast? Like, I'm sure they were so tired of hearing me saying that, but really, I have been on so many government boards, 35 years of government boards, both provincially and nationally, as well as ICBC, and that's what I'm still singing. What about the North? What about the North? Right? The Northeast, because they think that, Prince George is the Northeast. No, it stops at that mountain range. So I will continue to advocate. I live here. I've been in the North for 35 years. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere. And I will continue to work diligently for the North. And let me tell you, 4 years of being in this role, I've taken 2 weeks of holiday. My other job that I worked for, I had 9 weeks of holidays each year. I took every day off. But I don't consider this a job. I consider this a passion for helping my people. I'm in it for the right reasons. I love the Métis Nation of BC, and I love our people.
Thank you, Paulette. The next question is framed around, how do you plan to ensure that your policies and that your message are clearly communicated to voters?
Well, I have been doing a lot of videos. I mean, you're talking about for the election, I gather. So they can go on to my political page and they can see what my messaging is as well. Getting ready tomorrow to mail out a postcard, which gives them a lot of information about what I've done. So that's how I'm doing it. I am going to be, going to the chartered communities to be able to meet people there. And I'm continuing to talk to my voters here in Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, Chetwynd, and Hudson Hope. So I believe that I have very strong community ties. I have 3 presidents that are publicly coming out supporting me. So I think that I have those relationships. I'm on the phone with them daily, if not every other day, and working with them for their communities to see what they're doing. So I'm very active.
Thank you. Right, question number 9. You mentioned earlier there's a rule that states that you cannot enter a community unless asked. Is this specified within the MNBC Constitution or an act within MNBC? And
You know
then
what?
sorry, there's a little second part, so I'll just add that
Okay.
too. We need to remember that the communities are volunteer, and one would like to think that the regional director is a paid position and should reach out to the communities, not the other way around. So what are your thoughts on this? It's kind of a 2-part.
Well, what I've been told is that we need to be invited to the communities. And so when when Fort St. John or Hudson Hope or Chetwynd connect with me, they're inviting me to the community. That's my understanding. Where it came from, maybe I will get back to that because where it came from. So I know that they're volunteers, right? And I respect and appreciate the fact that they're volunteers, but at least that they can do is invite me to an AGM. That would be the basic minimum, because I think if I was at, NEMA's AGM when they had it, that I would have been able to have learned more about what they're planning on doing. But like I said, Walter wasn't invited and I wasn't invited as well. So they need to reach out to me and they need to invite me. And I haven't heard from Brenda for quite a while. But yeah, so that's all I can say. And I will find out where that comes from. But I know that we are just like a senator, just can't go into the community. they have to be invited in. So it's much like that. I prefer an invite. I just don't want to pop in. Because they're also the chartered communities, they're their own societies, they're their own entities. We really can't come into a chartered community and tell them what to do. They have they are their own societies on their own. And MNBC, we support them financially, and we support them with training, and we support them with this and that. But yeah, I want to work with all of the chartered communities.
Thank you. Question 10 is a little two-part related to food security. So does your vision for food security include any sort of K-12 school food program? And how would you collaborate with the Minister of Education to implement such a program?
Great, great question. And one that I'm so passionate about. And one that I can take back to Leona Shaw and give her the idea about the K-12, because I know with our food security, we're providing training, seeds, and tools to adults. But it's definitely, I mean, I'm passionate about teaching food security. I have two young granddaughters that's just spent 3 weeks here. They are, how old are they? 11 and 14. And they've been working on our farm since they were probably 5. So these children know how to go out and forage in the forest for our medicines, because we forage a lot of medicines and use a lot of medicines in our home. They know how to can. They can can anything. I've taught them to can year after year after year. They can make pesto. They, well, actually, they told me this year when they came that they no longer do weeding. That's, beneath them. But anyway, I always have said to my husband, wouldn't it be great to be able to have a food program for children? A couple of the local schools, including Charlie Lake, have brought their I believe it was grade 4 students, and they've spent the day with us here learning about food production. So for me, you know what, this is something dear to my heart. And sometimes, I just think, oh, wow, I'd love to be, working on that more. But my role at MNBC, I mean, it basically is a 7-day-a-week job. But that's something that we could bring up with Leona Shaw and also Minister Hooper and talk about this K-12 food program. And of course, work with the Minister of Education. There is just a little book that was developed. Actually, I got it. It's in the other room, but it's a little children's storybook that was developed by Blueberry River First Nations. I'm just going to go grab it because I think whoever asked this question, this needs to be shown. So this is what it is. It's called, I hope you can see it, Ecological Restoration in Our Territory Activity Book. And it was done by Dolly Absassin, and she's from Blueberry River First Nation. It just came hot off the press. I was given a copy of it, but it's basically an activity book, and that shows, what they're doing for restoration, like planting black spruce and tamarack trees in the muskeg on seismic lines. But then there's, things about beaver dam construction, willow staking, all of these, how to create a sea ball at home. Like I was just thrilled when I seen this the other day. So this is something that was done by Blueberry River First Nation, and I asked for a copy because I want to forward this on to Leona. So this is a really great question, the K-12 food program, and I would definitely, as the Deputy Minister of Food Security, Agriculture and Food Security, I would definitely be willing to help put this together. Thank you for the question.
Absolutely. All right. So moving over, let's see, just having a little trouble with my screen here. Update this here. Thank you for your patience. So here we go. How do you plan to ensure transparency and accountability in your administration?
On MNB's administration, because it is all transparent and accountable. So I think that we have a phenomenal staff. And I've never come across anything in my 4 years that would say anything different. We have great accountability and transparency. I mean, there are some things like I just chatted earlier about real estate purchases, those have to go in camera, but everything is out there. And, anybody wants to ask anything, the finances are completely open. And even with citizenship, and you just, contact the director and I mean, I've not ran across it. So that's all I can say is that we're very transparent.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to take a moment here to address some of the questions that are coming up in the chat. I think it would be inappropriate to ask questions that are related to the absent candidate. So we'll just be reframing those to make sure that we stay on topic for the candidate who is here. It's not acceptable to ask things that they can't respond to in the space. So moving over to the next question. Let's see. I'm going through the list. Here we go. Okay, I have one. This is in regards to Fort St. John and then in relationship to all the other Métis organizations. It sounds like you're quite active in Fort St. John. And the question's related to how you support the other communities and other Métis organizations and how you would describe yourself as thinking for everyone, not just the Fort St. John area.
Oh, and I don't only think for the Fort St. John area. I think, for Chetwynd. I think also for Hudson Hope. And I think for Dawson Creek. I think also for Fort Nelson, Kelly Lake. I've been to Kelly Lake a few times in the last month, thinking about them and, what we're going to do for, getting an AGM. I'm very sad that our president of Kelly Lake passed away. And we need to get that community going. So, working on strategizing how to do it. It's not just Fort St. John. I'm now working with Hudson Hope. We have purchased some land there. We're figuring out what it is that we're going to be doing there. We are, working with Kelly Lake. I mean, there's, something going on at Kelly Lake that, that we are working on as well. So it's not just Fort St. John. I must admit it was easier for Fort St. John because the infrastructure was put in place. Like the Passive House was there. The lot next door was available to buy. The Crosstown apartments were there. That included a Métis, a house that used to belong to our former city manager, John Locker, and his wife, Lynn. So that became, that's becoming the chartered office. They haven't opened yet. They're just furnishing it. So that's our prototype. When I got on this board, they talked about community hub. I'm like, okay, well, let's do a hub. And the first hub of its kind in British Columbia happens to be in Fort St. John. And I just happened to live in Charlie Lake. So it just rolled together. It was meant to be. I believe that it was divine intervention and it was supposed to happen. So now that people can come here and then they can tour this Métis hub and see how it's done. And then once we get everything done, including our daycare built, the synergy of that place, the pride of that place, the honor of that place will be amazing. And I just can't wait to see it all being done and all being fully operated.
Thank you. Can you speak a little bit about, because the question looks like, do you have a working relationship with Dawson Creek in particular?
I did, to be honestly, and I'd like to have a working relationship with them. Like I said earlier, I'd like for them to invite me to their community. I'd like their president to be there, and I'd like to sit down and would like to find out what they want to work with. What do they want to do? I mean, I'm often in Dawson Creek. I was in Dawson Creek the other day. Many times where I've been in Dawson Creek, I mean, I can travel to Dawson Creek very easily. It's only 45 minutes for me. So yeah, I'd like to be able to sit with them and talk with them and vision what they want. Because I mean, I know that they wanted to have a kitchen in their office, and that is something that I understand that's in place. We were there a couple of months ago and it looked like they had started to work on it, but I'd like to be kept informed. But you know what? Invite me to an AGM or invite me to a meeting and I will be there.
Thank you. How do you plan to work with other elected officials, including those with opposing views, to achieve your goals?
Wow. Well, I'll just continue doing what I'm doing now because I've been sitting on this board for 4 years. And let me tell you, there's a lot of opposing views on that board. You know what? I'm respectful. I find everybody has something to say. The people that all my colleagues are extremely intelligent, and I learn from them every meeting that we have, as they probably learn from me as well. It's respectful dialogue. I don't see lateral violence going on in those circles. We listen to each other. We may not agree with each other, and, sometimes we might get upset, but you know what? At the end of the day, we're one. We speak with one voice, we work together, and we sit there until we can figure things out. So I consider myself to be a very positive person, an innovative person. I'm definitely an ideas person. They may not like my philosophy of get her done, but that's the way that I operate. And that's the way I'll continue to operate right up until I retire, because I really see the need to get things done. And often, they'll say, let's do it. And it's very interesting. I was just saying to my husband the other day and to my friend who's visiting me, often at the board table, I may bring something up, not, and I agree with other people, but often they'll say, oh yeah, what Paulette said, because you constantly, I mean, this is a very hard position. I mean, we are governing this government, for close to 25,000. I think there's going to be another 25,000 citizens. So the decisions that we're making at the board level, they're hard. I mean, you walk out of there after 3 days of meetings and you've got a headache, because these are challenging times, but we sit there and we work collectively together. So our board, is tight. So I would say that I can work with anyone.
Thank you. Well, this is just a reminder that we're at 6 o'clock. We've done this for an hour. Lots of great information shared and excellent questions. I appreciate the tone and the respect that people are maintaining. That was our last question, but I will hold the space for a little bit longer. And if folks want to add more, please put those into the chat. It's a good time to also remind everyone that the election is coming up on September 7th, and it'll be closing at 8 p.m. The voting is by mail-in ballot or by digital ballot, where you can vote electronically. Digital voting opens on August 24th and closes as well on September 7th. Please do visit onefeather.ca if you have any questions. We have everything posted online there, as well as the very helpful MNBC website for more information. I believe it's www.mnbc.ca, and it is continually being updated. A reminder that this session is being recorded, and we will be sharing it with the nation, and they will be posting it to the MNBC YouTube channel. So if folks want to go back and look at that, they can. But I Oh, when do the community boxes need to be sent back to One Feather? I can double check on that for you. There is a specific date in the community box kit that comes out. I'll take a moment and double check on that for you now. And just give a few minutes for people if they'd like to add a few more questions into the chat. Paulette, this gives you a moment to have a glass of water and rest your voice. And we'll see. I'd like to keep the space open till a little bit longer to give everyone a chance, or if more participants want to come in. I can see that we have 21 people in the group right now. I'm just going to take a look for the community ballot box closing date. Just one second.
You know if there's going to be a list of who requested ballot boxes? Because I know a couple elders in my community that want to, but don't have access to transport. So there's going to be a couple of us youth kind of haranguing together to drive them out so that they can participate.
Can you hear me, Lauren? Yeah, I think she was just going to find out that information. Yeah, our communities are asking the same question.
Amazing.
Yeah, but it's nice to be able to have the ballot box at the chartered offices.
I think that's a great idea for accessibility. And I think some people alike, they enjoy the experience of voting and they trust the paper vote more because not everybody likes the technology. And while it's accessible for some, it's not for all. And I know like my mom hates online voting. Setting her up last time was really challenging. She's a senior. She doesn't particularly like technology. She thinks it's invasive and weird. So she's excited to go vote.
Yeah, I love voting.
Okay, I don't want to take us too far off topic as we discuss the community ballot boxes because this is a space for candidates, but I can say that the ballot boxes will be closing on August 31st at noon, and there'll be a witness present, and then they'll be shipped by courier back. So August 31st will be the date for that, for the community ballot box closing. Yes, and it says on the voting information sheets, bold letters, that there will be no in-person voting. That is correct. The voting for this event is by mail-in ballot and also digitally electronic. So while we have everyone here, are there any more questions that you'd like to offer to Paulette to speak on? Let's see. Okay, there's one in here that I can pull up. I'll do that. Give me one moment. There we go. It says, there's a question that's just come up for you, Paulette. Can you talk about your relationships with the First Nations and how that helps the Métis?
Well, you know what? we're all cousins. We really, the First Nations in this province are not too happy with the Métis people right now. But we need to be establishing those relationships. I can talk about my relationships with First Nations here because I worked a lot with First Nations communities, and the fact that my husband was a First Nation leader as well, that they're very imperative that we're able to work together, because once we establish those relationships, we can do so many things. We can be involved in business together. And I always think about it as a business opportunity. We know that Doig River First Nation, along with Blueberry First Nation, are building urban reserves in the area. So like, I think, why couldn't we, get together, the Métis Nation and the First Nations community, and do a joint venture together? We need the First Nations because, they are land-based. We need for them to have a good relationship so that our Métis entrepreneurs, across the province can be able to get parts of the work that's out there through industry. And you know what? There's never been this division before the way it is now. And we know that as government, that's really, broadly divided us. But, a lot of us, and there's a lot of Métis people too, just recently, they're Métis all their life and all of a sudden they become First Nations. I mean, they're still our brothers and sisters. We need to be able to get along with them because we need to be able to access the land together. We need to be able to live together. We need to be able to grow together. Often, there's families such as mine. My husband is Treaty Indian and I'm a Métis. You know what? We don't have conflicts about being Métis or First Nations. We need to learn to get together because we are all one, really. And that's the way that I say it. And if you go back, back to your ancestors, I mean, there were First Nations in those ancestors. And it's just important that we work together. Our elders say, that the Métis way is all about unity. The Métis way is all about kindness. The Métis way is always about family. So those are the reasons why. But I think, especially in British Columbia, because we don't have a land base, and right now we have, a lot of First Nations up in arms at us. I mean, I'm not the one on our board that deals with that. I leave it to the strengths holder, like Walter Minot, to be able to do that work, Louis Jagger for economic development. But I always say that we need to get on board and we need to be able to work together more and more and more. And, I would like to see, this daycare, even this daycare in Fort St. John that's being built. It's a $7 million state-of-the-art daycare. If we can't fill it up with Métis children, why not fill it up with First Nations children? If we can't get our apartment building rented out, why not bring in First Nations in there? Because it's about collaboration. We need to collaborate with one another in order to solve these issues that are present day. I've never, in my whole history of living in British Columbia for 35 years, I've never seen it the way it is today. And it really saddens me. And we just need to have our people like Walter Minot to be able to get out there and to really help us build those relationships with First Nations. I know I'm putting a lot on him, but he's the person to do it.
Thank you, Paulette. I'm cognizant of time. It's just now 10 after 6. There's a few more that are coming into the chat here. We'll do our best to get to those. This one was circling back to the citizenship question. It is just in relationship to being able to quote you. Is it okay to quote you that you used your ancestors' death certificates for continuity of genealogy within the MNBC application process?
I don't remember if I needed that death certificate, but I'm just saying that when my mother and father died just recently, well, in the last 10 years, we had to get that death certificate, but it wasn't for the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. We just needed to have access to that death certificate. That's all I was saying, is that, because if you're going through a will or whatever, you need to have access to that death certificate. And I know now the Métis Nation, they just put something out on our registry that if we have, so for example, if I was to die, then in order for them to get my name off of our citizenship, my husband has to apply for my death certificate, and then he has to give it to our registry so that my name can come off of the Métis Nation, a BC registry.
Okay, thank you. There's a question about distance. Is it far for other communities to travel to Fort St. John so that all citizens can access the steps, office, and hub? So I'm not sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. The hub, yeah, the hub is in the central area, but you can definitely travel to Fort St. John to access the steps office, as well as yeah, or else they can come to you. I know that our steps staff, because I've been seeing them out and about, they really are going out and about and going into communities. So if any of the chartered communities wants the steps staff to be there, I know that they'd be more than willing to go there. So yeah, you can drop in. Our steps office is open every day. Like you can come there. It's right across. And I know the chartered community is working on opening. I mean, I shouldn't be speaking for them, but I know that they're going to have an open door policy as well, that you'll be able to come in there and have a coffee. So yeah, it's all open. And if anybody from Dawson Creek needs housing and they're prepared to move up to Fort St. John in our beautiful, beautiful apartment building, I would encourage you to reach out to Century 21 here in Fort St. John and start your application process. There are just a few apartments. I spoke with our manager today, and there's 4 empty units right now. But I know that there are a couple of elders that I spoke to that are interested in applying to those apartments. So hopefully in due time. And the only reason why we have vacancy in those apartment buildings, when we purchased the property, it was fully subscribed. And then somebody started a rumor, I don't know who it was, but somebody started a rumor around Fort St. John that the people that were living there were going to be getting kicked out. And so that actually led a lot of people into fear, which was so sad because, you know, most of them were seniors and they were very fearful. So they ended up giving their notice and moving out. And of course, we wouldn't kick anybody out by law. You're not allowed to do that. But the thing is that that rumor that was started by somebody here in Fort St. John caused a lot of issues. So it was fully occupied. And then that's what happened. So we're hoping that we'll have these rented in no time and people will be in that beautiful, 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 beautiful apartment building. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. So this brings us to 6:15, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to collect your thoughts and finish with your closing statements for this evening. And then we'll have a few comments from us as moderators. But yeah, over to you, Paulette. If you'd like to make your closing statement, this would be a good time to do that.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone that's come on this call. I mean, I know it's, 5 o'clock and it's a very important time to be having dinner. So I really want to thank you and say that, just by you participating in these town halls, we know that you really care about our nation. So thank you. I don't think I really introduced the roles that I play at MNBC. So I'll just take this time really quickly to say that, besides being the Region 7 Director of Northeast BC and the Minister of Skills, Training, Employment, and Post-Secondary, I'm also the Associate Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. I'm the Chair of People and Culture, which is the HR. When I first got elected into MNBC, I was surprised that they didn't have an HR committee. So I really pushed to get that going, and it's been wonderful. And I'm also a board member of the Métis Financial Corporation of BC. And I really love that role that I play because I'm still, helping entrepreneurs. I worked for the Northeast Aboriginal Business Center in Fort St. John for 18 years. And I helped a lot of entrepreneurs start, expand, or not start businesses. And it's the Métis Financial Corp really gives me that opportunity to be able to still be involved. And we are running our first time homeowners program out of that which is something that just elates me and makes me so proud that we got that going through the Métis Financial Corp with the assistance of MNBC. So, you know, I think that voting for an experienced leader that gets things done is really important on February 7th. And in my first term in the Northeast, I secured $21 million for the Northeast region to build infrastructure. We have a 40-unit apartment building. We have a STEPS office. We are soon to have a community office. We have land in Hudson Hope and a daycare soon to be built in Fort St. John, and a state-of-the-art daycare. And I'm so excited about that. And my colleague, Deborah Fisher, was very instrumental in this. My second term, I will continue to work hard for my citizens, supporting chartered communities, advocating for elders' healthcare, participating in economic development, skills training, and post-secondary funding. I commit to working as hard as I have worked in this last 4 years, and I'm asking for your support. It's really about, like I said earlier, the quote that I'm using, when we all stand together, when we all stand equal, we all stand stronger. And we really need each and every one of you that are here and each and every one in our nation to be able to be working alongside with us to help build our nation. Over the next 4 years, it's going to be very critical because a lot of things are going to happen. And I hope IGB status will happen. We may be getting another, government in Canada. So we need to really work together and stand together so that we are stronger. We need to be utilizing our Métis ways of being. And I just encourage all of you to keep that in mind. I just read something today, and, really it's all about kindness. Like if we're just kind to one another and kind to ourselves as well, and kind, to other, chartered communities that may have more than you have right now. But you know what? I always said in my entire life, even though I grew up impoverished, I grew up hungry, but I've always said this, there's an endless supply of money in the universe. So when I hear we don't have the money, I say there's an endless supply of money in the universe. And I can guarantee that the people that are running, they want to work hard for all of you. So thank you very much. And I appreciate the time. It's been a very, very eye-opening evening for me. Lots of great questions. I really appreciate them. And I would invite any one of you to reach out to me. Best to reach me through my Facebook page. On that gives you my cell number. And I would just encourage you, if you have any questions, you can text me or you can get a hold of me through my Facebook page. Call me if you need to, but a text usually works faster. And often I don't know how to turn my iPhone on and it's on silent. So anyway, good evening, everyone. I hope you get to eat your dinner and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Paulette. I just want to thank everyone for being here this evening as well. And thank you for standing as a candidate tonight, Paulette, and coming to this forum for Region 7. We want to remind people to visit onefeather.ca online if they are choosing to vote digitally. Please go to the MNBC website for more information or anything upcoming on the vote. If you voted electronically in previous elections, you will be notified automatically. If not, we encourage you to go to onefeather.ca to sign up. And do reach out if you need to our dedicated support team at support.onefeather.ca. And again, I want to thank all of you. My heart is full. It was an amazing town hall. A lot of gratitude and respect for all of you, and wishing you a lovely evening. Take good care. I'm going to stop recording and you may go and enjoy your meal.